Mastering communication with your wife is a subconscious skill. This means that once you tap into that mental flow, you're able to turn even your wife's harshest words into harmonious connection and avoid endless frustration and pushing her away for good. So in this video, I will show you that subconscious skill. Mastering it will lead you to be completely unreactive to anything she says. And this ability is the foundational component of any successful relationship, I would argue. So I'll show you today through my client's story that once he got it down, the amount of trust and attraction in his marriage skyrocketed.
That morning, I hop out of the shower, got a towel on me, and my wife walks up and she says, "Happy birthday," and just kisses me on the lips. And man, there hasn't been much physical affection lately, and that just felt huge.
And it all comes down to a quick and easy mind trick you can start adapting immediately. And by the way, if you think your wife is too hard on you, she never gives you a break, you might even think, what's the point of even trying? Well, my client achieved this radical turnaround while recovering from a brain injury. His lack of quick wit and ability to process information was working against him. So there's no excuse for you to not absolutely crush this. So let's jump in. Now, to explain the subconscious skill I'm talking about, I want to introduce you to Cyrus. Now, I consider him to be a lucky guy, to say the least. Not just because he's married to a beautiful and successful woman that loves him deeply, but because he recognized his wife's unhappiness. I mean, honestly, both of theirs. And he saw his own role in that.
The repeated thought in my head over and over, my wife is unhappy. She's always complaining and legit complaints. I can't seem, I try to make changes to make things better between us, but I keep failing time after time. I keep falling short. That's how I felt, right? And I thought to myself, if I don't do something now, get help, my marriage will fall apart. And hell, for all I knew at that point, she could have been seeing somebody else.
So instead of being blindsided by divorce like most men do, okay, Cyrus took proactive action to make it better.
I was watching YouTube videos, and when you start going down that rabbit hole, a lot of things pop up in your feed. And then I saw you, and man, a lot of stuff was clicking. And so I tried to implement some of the things that you were talking about in your videos. But, you can only get so far just by watching videos, and not holding yourself accountable to write a plan and go through the steps. So I said, hey, why not? Let me call.
And he echoes a lot of truth here. Despite the immense value I give away for free in these videos, there's only so much you can achieve without a detailed roadmap, tools, and support systems in place. These will ensure your inner growth and self-awareness, which then leads to the best opportunity to get her back. So if you need help in getting her back, you know what to do. So when Cyrus hunkered down and did the work, he learned this valuable skill I'm going to share with you now. And then I'm going to show you how to achieve it using a simple mind trick, and you're going to love it. Now here it is in Cyrus's words.
What I'm doing now, after I've gotten control of my reactions, is I just let her just get it all out. And I say, yes, I did that. Or you're right, I didn't do that. And I just leave it at that. And if she wants further explanation, she can, if she elaborates, then I will answer once I know she's kind of calmed down.
We talk about the key differences in the program a lot, right? But like one of the biggest ones is that logical, emotional importance on communication. And she wants understanding, not explanation, right? Like, how does she feel by those things? And as a guy, it's like, if I just explain it to you, then you'll understand, right? For us, understanding is like logical. For her, like understanding is like, oh, you must have felt that way, right?
Mm-hmm. Cyrus cultivated a skill I call analytical attunement. He got control of his reactions and was able to sit with his wife in her emotions instead of reacting logically and trying to solve her problems or explain things away. You see, you remain unreactive while taking in what's really going on with her. You're silent, you're patient, you're actively listening. You are validating her emotions instead of thinking what you're going to say next. Now, suddenly, you're speaking her language. And she's not used to you doing that, is she? So it's a game changer, an absolute game changer for your communication patterns with her. And I'm going to explain how to make this easier to do in a minute later on. But first, I want to share what's really inspiring here. It's hard enough for most men to achieve analytical attunement simply because we're logical beings and it goes against our nature to tap into uncharted territory of masculine fortitude. But Cyrus had another layer of adversity working against him. No, Cyrus's wife did not make it easier on him, but despite that added challenge, Cyrus was still successful. So much that it changed the way he interpreted his wife's emotional temperament. He felt something he never really felt before in that moment. Check out this win.
The biggest win for me is the work I've done on myself. I don't react. And I actually, the last couple times where she was venting about what was bothering her about me, instead of having a narrative voice in my mind of how I'm going to respond, my mind it had none of that. I was just listening to her and actually feeling bad for her, feeling compassion. I was like, wow, she must be miserable. And to me, that's a big win because that's a change I recognize in myself.
Now that is high-level emotional intelligence right there, right? To feel compassion, not defensiveness when your wife is coming at you with emotional guns blazing. So how did he master analytical attunement, fighting the uphill battle at first? Well, we're going to talk about that right now. There are essentially two things Cyrus did to achieve this. The second one is the subconscious skill I mentioned earlier. But first, I'll let Cyrus break it down with a practical exercise.
How do you actually engage with your wife during those periods?
Well, first, I take a breath. Sometimes I still get that initial uncomfortable reaction right when that tone of voice comes out.
We all know it.
Yeah, I don't walk away. I take a breath and I think about the words she actually said. And I just ask gentle questions, or I guess ask questions gently. I guess it kind of depends on what she's frustrated about.
It's amazing what taking a breath can do to help you in that situation. And notice how Cyrus was breaking down her words and asking himself gentle questions about their meaning instead of making those automatic assumptions. Or sometimes it's about saying just nothing at all and just taking her in without saying something, without reacting. Check out what happened with his wife one time and tell me if this sounds familiar.
The other night, she walks in the living room after our son was in bed and she just says, "If I didn't live here, this place would be a pigsty." And I was like, okay. I actually didn't feel any reactive feelings to that other than I've been putting a ton of work into this house, cleaning everything up while you've been working for 13 hours a day. I know it's not a pigsty. You probably walked in and saw some clutter on the counter. You're overworked and you are feeling like you just want everything to be immaculately clean, and it's not. So I actually just was relating to how she probably felt and why she said that.
Now, I don't normally do this, but I want to give Cyrus more time to explain it because he does such a good job of really painting a picture of that wrestling match between your own thoughts, right? To really gain control of how you react with your wife.
We talked a lot in the initial stages about being non-reactive, right? And that was so hard. Like I felt like I was doing it on the outside, physically not reacting. But just once you actually learn how to do it, it's not something you control. It's just releasing the thoughts in your mind and just keeping your mind blank while you're listening to your wife talk, and really just focusing on the words coming out of her mouth and just getting over everything that's in your head, getting over yourself and just focusing on her, because that's what she's been wanting the whole time.
Now, I expanded this on a previous video on the channel about that present moment awareness, that attunement, where it's just you're so connected to her and you're not thinking in your head, what do I say to her to get her to end her experience, but allowing that and saying to yourself, I want her to go deeper into this. And paradoxically, when you have that present moment awareness connection with her, those emotions subside. Now, there's a study by John Gottman on the benefits and significance of attunement in relationships. It's in the Science of Trust, Emotional Attunement for Couples. Now, Gottman emphasizes that emotional attunement, which involves understanding and responding to a partner's emotional needs, is essential for processing and moving past negative emotional events. Now, this practice strengthens the relationship by fostering a sense of safety and connection between partners.
Sorry, it's like you said, the first thing you said right there was like, when you are in panic, losing your wife, potentially your family, like all you could focus on is yourself, right? Because you're falling apart.
Yeah. What
And
am I doing or what am I not doing? Stop looking at stop looking at me.
and that's like the uncomfortable irony is that like it's almost uncontrollable because your emotions are you're in flight or flight, you're in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, so is she a lot of times, you're gonna focus on yourself, right? But it's so counterproductive to actually what you want to be.
Okay, so the second thing Cyrus did to achieve analytical attunement is the subconscious skill I've been talking about to master communication with your wife. Here it is in Cyrus's words.
So Coach Kristen, in the beginning stage of talking to her, she says, all these guys have armor on and you want to protect yourself, but learn how to rip the armor off. Just not learn. Know that you don't need the armor you're wearing to protect your emotions. You're a masculine man underneath all of it. You can take it. They're just words, right? When has a word ever killed you? Take the words, absorb them, turn them into your strength. Get over your feelings because I guarantee your wife is hurting more. She's feeling the hurt way more than you are. Get over yourself. You can take it. Be the logical guy you are and just logically know you can handle this. Just listen to your wife. Get the thoughts out of your head in the moment, right? Process everything later down the road as you're working on the car or walking the dog. In that moment, rip your armor off and just feel everything she's throwing at you. Because I guarantee it works. It hurts worse for her than it's hurting you.
I love that visual of just ripping the armor off because you just don't need it. When have words ever killed you, right? Logically, they're just words, and you are stronger than that. I know it's easier said than done, but it's true. And while I often say not to react logically to your wife in those moments, this is using logic towards yourself, right? So you can take it, right? And if you do have boundaries around certain words, assert those. I don't want you to feel like you're being emotionally abused or disrespected, but they're just words. Because if you get defensive, she's just going to double down on that, aren't you? Remember in those moments that your wife she's really hurting more than you are. And that outward pouring of that emotion is just that pain. She's speaking of that pain. She's almost vomiting that poison out. And you're choosing to drink it when you take those words as who you actually are versus how she feels in the moment. Now, this next one is so powerful that it'll just eradicate all neediness from your system. Check out the conversation point here.
The whole concept of I want her, I don't need her, that was huge for me. That was huge because as I was developing myself and ripping the armor off, there were a lot of points where I was getting frustrated. And I told myself over and over, I want her, I don't need her. And that is powerful because you're telling yourself you do want her. I do love this woman. I want her in my life. And that continues to push me forward and build, work on keeping the relationship together. But I don't need her lets you not let that argument have power over you. It gives you a layer, a separation layer where, okay, I know this sucks temporarily. Therefore, that's the I don't need it part, but I want her. So I'm going to continue to work on this and make it work.
What Cyrus is talking about is liberating love. This indifference mindset, I can't stress this how important it is. It's the most important mindset you can adopt, that if you can really understand, truly experience in your mind, in your heart, that you would be okay without her, you would survive. It does create that healthy indifference. Not that you're feeling like you need her, that you're like begging her, like you're emotionally at her feet groveling. You're not physically doing that, but groveling you are. I sound like Yoda because emotionally without her, you think you're empty, that you're nothing without her. And as soon as you can cultivate that you do desire her, that you want her in your life, 1 + 1 = 3, but her leaving, you're still whole. Once you can truly learn that lesson, you become bulletproof emotionally. And she feels safe with you, that you are your own man despite what she wants. You see that? Now, if you need help with any of that, again, you click the link down below to set up a call with our team. Our marriage evaluators are really, after thousands of calls, they know exactly what the deep core issues are and how to give you that game plan moving forward. I think what stops most men from taking action that's different is there's this voice in your head that says, what if she can't change? What if things won't change? Or What if they will just go back to normal? And so much of you just wants to go back to that status quo, that those moments that you just had so much peace in your life, that things were just felt right. But man, like, you have to cultivate this relationship with fear and pain differently, which is when moments are tough, that is a signal from God or from somewhere else that something has to change. Something has to change. And not only has to, but there's an opportunity. You've been stuck in the same status quo in this area of your life. And as much as I don't want to impose my values on you, I do believe that life is about growth and change and learning. And when there is pain, when there is separation, when someone close in your life who knows you really fucking well, right? And they're saying, this isn't working, opportunity for you, okay? Now, whether that's with me, whether that's with our team and our whole community of guys doing this, I don't care. I really don't. I want to give you value on these videos, and I want you to do something different. So as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror or promise me right now, put in the comments down below that you're going to do something different, that's all that matters to me. I know for certain that the same thing is going to happen with her or the next person. So I don't want you to go through continued pain, because that's ignorance and insanity. And don't be insane when it comes to matters of the heart. See you next one.